Diane Petrella, and I'm Dean of the College of the Arts here at Kent State University. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to our campus and to Art Without Limits. I want to thank you for joining us for what I am certain is going to be an exciting and very inspiring day of presentations, exhibits, and activities. All of these are designed to highlight the possibilities for future arts entrepreneurs and those who want to develop an entrepreneurial mindset to the arts. This event has evolved over time from a very small panel where we presented to about 40 Kent State students to today's event. Today we will welcome nearly 800 high school students who are interested in the arts to our campus, along with many community members and colleagues. We also will welcome our students from the College of the Arts, around 2,400 of them studying fashion, art, music, theater, and dance. And they will join us and attend activities throughout the day. This type of event takes a lot of time and effort to plan, as you can imagine. So I want to just take a moment to thank everyone who helped to contribute to planning this year's Art Without Limits. First, I want to thank Entrepreneur in Residence and College of the Arts faculty member, Nick Petrella, whose vision elevated this concept to what you see today. Nick is standing in the back, so thank you, Nick. I also want to thank our faculty and staff who served on the planning committee. I want to thank you for all of your efforts. I know that this is a tremendous amount of time and your work is really appreciated. And then of course our College of the Arts staff who you're seeing all over the place. Today I have my finance team working with high school students. Everybody is all over the place. This staff has really jumped in and contributed in so many different ways to make this event run smoothly, and their efforts are so appreciated. And then I want to thank our partners of this event, the Brinzo Center for Entrepreneurship, the Department of Africana Studies, and LaunchNet. I hope everyone has a great day. Don't be afraid to ask a lot of questions, and be sure to head over to the Center for the Visual Arts and the lobby here at Cartwright to see displays of our Kent State student artists and arts-related organizations. I also invite everyone to join us at the end of the day. At 5 o'clock, we'll host a reception upstairs where you can network with other guests and also a lot of our speakers. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Associate Professor of Art, Tara McMahon, who will get us started by introducing our first speaker, alumna Gina DeSantis. Erin?
Thank you, Diane. Hi everyone, I'm Tara McMahon, Associate Professor of Studio Art in the School of Art, and it is my pleasure today to introduce Gina DeSantis. Gina DeSantis is the lead creator behind her brand, Gina DeSantis Ceramics, for which she makes high-quality ceramic wares for the home and table. She strives to create well-crafted, functional pieces that become heirlooms for her customers and their families. Gina has worked with clay since 1999 and founded her business in 2013. She began her ceramic studies at her local community college, and by 2006 had earned her MFA from Kent State University. Go Flashes. You may have seen her work in Uncommon Goods, Anthropology, McGee & Company, Shop Amber Interiors, and the Sundance Catalog, as well as over 400 retailers around the country. Gina and her team work out of an old automobile factory in Lakewood, Ohio, just west of Cleveland. All work is designed and thrown by Gina. She employs a team of helpers, some of whom have been other KSU alums, polish off those resumes, to help in many aspects of the work, including trimming, glazing, firing, and working on hand-built items. The entire team is hands-on in the process, so she can proudly state her work is made in the USA. She considers one of her greatest accomplishments to be the jobs her business creates for the creative workforce in Northeast Ohio. Please join me in welcoming Gina DeSantis.
I have a cold, so my voice is not normally this subdued. Anyway, thank you for having me. I am a KSU alumni, so it is very exciting to be here. I wanted to do a presentation that really talked about the challenges I faced as an artist and a business owner, and some of the information that I did not get when I was in school. So hopefully you find this helpful as I explain my journey, which was definitely bumpy, but definitely how do I put this? Non-linear. All right. Okay, so as Taryn said, my background, I have worked in over 400 stores. I work with some major retailers, and I'm going to break down how I got to that point of working with those stores. So, I'm so old, I remember when Etsy was born, okay? So, when I was in graduate school, the idea of being an artist full-time and selling your artwork was kind of more of a pipe dream. We didn't have the resources we have now. We didn't have Instagram, Facebook, all the social media, Etsy, Fair, all these great sites to sell our work. So I kind of jumped into it at a point when that was all kind of kicking off the ground, and the handmade movement really started picking up along with shows and throughout the country. So a little bit of my timeline here. So I went to Lorraine Community College for 2 years, and I finished up at Cleveland State, and then I got my master's degree here at Penn State in 2006. So from 2006 to 2013, I worked a bunch of jobs. None of them had anything to do with my art. I was a visual merchandiser, I worked in a nonprofit art center. My goal was to teach college, and that never really happened. So at the time it was very frustrating, but now looking back on it, it kind of helped form who I am today as an artist. Merchandising definitely helped, teaching definitely helped. And it wasn't until 2013 that I quit my day job. So I think it's important to realize that success always isn't instantaneous. Okay, so 2013, here's what happens. I decide that I'm going to open a classroom space in Lakewood, Ohio in my studio building. I'm in a building called the Screw Factory. I'm sure some of you are familiar with it. And so I decided I'm going to open a classroom space. There's not a dedicated classroom for just clay in the Cleveland area, so that's what I'm going to do. At the same time, I decided to do my first wholesale show. So if you're not familiar, a wholesale show is you pack up a huge display. It's usually out of state. In my case, I went to New York. And the first show I did, though, was in Philadelphia. So I sat there for 3 days. I made none of my booth fees back. It was extremely defeating. And the last hour of the last day, Uncommon Goods came up to me and said, "We like your mugs with the tree trunk. Would you personalize those?" And I said, "Sure. Why not?" You know, at this point, I've made no money. I'm in Philadelphia. I've spent probably $5,000 on this show. So they come back with a forecast. And so as you can imagine, when you work with a company, a forecast is pretty accurate, you know, like the weather, right? So they say in Q4, which is October, mid-October through mid-January this year, your mugs are going in the catalog. They're sold in sets of 2, and you're going to sell 1,000 sets. Sure, okay, I'm going to sell 1,000 sets of mugs, 2,000 sets. What I didn't know was they were accurate. So this kind of launched into, oh my God, how do I handle this? How do I get these produced? How do I make these quickly, efficiently, but still maintain the integrity of my artwork? So I open my classroom, I do this show, and by July of that year, I'm able to quit my day job. Okay. Mistakes equal growth. You're going to make a ton of mistakes when you're starting off, and that's okay, because that's how we learn, right? That old adage, how do you learn? You learn from your mistakes. Which I know seems annoying, but it's the truth. So the largest problem I have as an artist is getting people to accept my timeline. Anyone who works in the craft field here knows craft takes time. Ceramics takes time. Minimum, I can turn over a piece in 2 weeks, and that's if I'm rushing it, plus shipping. So how do I get 1,000 sets, 2,000 mugs made every year at least? So that was a really big challenge for me because there weren't a lot of people doing that, and there weren't a lot of answers or resources online. So I had to start looking for people that could help me with this and still maintain that integrity of the product and the quality of my artwork as I'm doing this. So I ended up finding a person in Texas who was able to help manufacture these small batch for me, which was a huge lift off my shoulders, because the first Christmas we did actually make 2,000 mugs in my studio. It was not good. I was very tired. it was a mess. I never wanted to do it again. So I reached out to a woman named Chris in Texas, and she helped start making these mugs for me. Unfortunately, a few years ago, she did pass away. I found another Kent State graduate, Erin Swank, who worked for Klein & Reed, who started making them for me. And eventually, I had to switch over to getting them manufactured in Hong Kong. All right. So let's talk about artwork versus product, because then these mugs, as awesome as it was that I was making money off my artwork, it didn't really feel like artwork anymore because I wasn't hand producing each one. So I had to start to think, how do I still feel like an artist, but I'm also designing products? So, this is idea that, when you start selling mass quantities of your artwork, you start selling out, right? It's almost like this double-edged sword, like you're successful, but are you a sellout? What do I do about this? So I decided that I had to look at things differently. I had to look at the mugs I was making as a product and the other work I was making as my artwork. And the product was really subsidizing the entire business. So I was lucky that I didn't need a ton of funding and grants and loans in the very beginning, because I had this product that was kind of launched and took off the ground. So I started to separate those two ideas and understand the idea that I was a ceramic designer and I was a ceramic artist. And that really helped form and shape the rest of my business. So here's some artwork of mine. This is a setup at New York Now, which is a huge wholesale show. So this kind of gives you an idea of what a wholesale booth looks like. When you go there, your idea is to kind of create this space so your clients see what kind of artwork you offer, and then they place orders for their stores or businesses. But again, you never know who's walking into your booth. It could be a magazine, it could be someone from Target, it could just be a little mom and pop store. So it's really important to have a good presentation. So this is kind of a representation of my work now. And there's some more work right here. So to the left is the Luna collection. So this is my one collection that's a dinnerware collection. It's in 4 colors. It's a large seller. This is something I consider more of my artwork. And then on the right is the crater vases. So this is another line that I started manufacturing in Hong Kong. So I started splitting the ideas of what should I hand make and what should I slip cast. Thank you. All right. So next, scaling up. So how do I start to scale up all aspects of these things? Okay. So the best advice I got in my business early on was grow slowly. There's a lot of things, the mugs kind of kicked off really quick and threw us into a tailspin. So how do I slow it down, maintain that integrity, and still expand my mind? So I had to start learning how to train interns, and that was one of the hardest challenges, was how do I delegate responsibilities in an artistic process and still, once again, maintain that this is my artwork. So, through mixing glazes, firing kilns, putting handles on mugs, shipments, that sort of thing, I had to learn as an artist, what could I be hands-off with in my artwork and still feel like this is my art. And then the next idea too is, now that all this stuff is off the ground, how do I get funding? So for example, a wholesale show could cost you up to $10,000 to do. So how do I get money for that? So there's a few things I did. The first was I applied for a loan through ECDI, which is a micro-lending company. So what they do is they pull loans from multiple banks and compile them so they kind of average the interest rate. So they're really good about working with small businesses. I also did a business loan competition called Bad Girl Ventures, which is now called Aviator Accelerators. So I was able to win a small business loan and work with a cohort of women where we learned all kinds of accounting, how to present ourselves, how to do presentations, how to do a pitch. And so I did little things along the way like that to help kind of keep the business going. So then I started to pull all the handmade stuff I was making into 2 lines. So we have our product, and then we have the wholesale things, and then I have retail. So wholesale, for anyone who doesn't know, means that I sell to stores, and so I'm selling at 50% of retail price. So these are items that I have to be able to make quickly, but again, I need to make sure that they are, functional, that they are well crafted, that they ship well, and so they have to be things that I can make quickly and expand upon. And then there's the retail side of it, or also known as the art. So things on my website where I start to do maybe more complex pieces, carved items, teapots, more elaborate vases, that sort of thing. Something that I know if I sat down on a pottery wheel and tried to mass produce quickly, it just wouldn't look good. The quality wouldn't be there. So I had to start separating the artwork also back into wholesale and then into more of the fine craft. So I started this idea with this line called flux. So I was kind of starting to get bored, and as you know, all of us artists, we don't have great attention spans, right? It's not our strong suit. So I started to kind of come up with this idea of flux. So flux it's an ebb and flow. It's this idea that ideas are constantly flowing and changing and moving. And so I use that as a way to kind of experiment with things. Maybe it's something that is going to end up in wholesale eventually. Maybe it's something that I can mass produce eventually, or maybe it's just a one-off piece that no one else can have. So I started to kind of do that for customers. I felt that it helped, once again, kind of help me stay creative, stay on my toes. Because the hardest thing about doing wholesale is you have to walk into your studio and you have to be creative. And artwork isn't meant to be Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So you can't just walk in the studio and be like, I'm going to be creative on Monday morning at 9 a.m. That's not how it works. You have to get out of the studio. You have to be inspired by the things that you see, get out into nature, take a day off, see other people's artwork. So for me, it really kind of helped me get out of that mindset where I don't always have to be working on orders. This time of year, of course, that's the opposite. I'm in Christmas mode already. However, this kind of just helped me as an artist explore more ideas. All right, so the duties of a business owner. They are all extremely glamorous. All right, so a business owner means I get yelled at a lot by customers. So right now is, as I said, it's holiday for me. So about 3/4 of the artwork we send out at my studio happens between now and the end of December, Q4. So we are already working on holiday products in January. So believe it or not, all the Christmas ornaments that I have for wholesale online right now, we got done in March. So we could work on the next project. So we have a really steady workflow, and now after on year 11 of business, we know how to schedule things throughout the year. So there's kind of an ebb and flow to the year, and then wholesale is January, February, or July and June. So I have to get catalogs ready twice a year. So by catalog, I mean I do have a PDF catalog I send out to customers. They can go online. There's a website called FAIRE, F-A-I-R-E. It's a wholesale website, so customers can find me that way, but I have to prepare that catalog twice a year. So I'm the lead artist, which means I create and design every product in the studio, but then I also pass those things off to my assistants. So one good example is trays, slab-built trays. I have templates, I have stamps, so they know how to make everything from start to finish for me, just like I would make it. Handles on mugs. We have tools to make handles. They know how to trim my work, put handles on everything. I do go back, I quality control all of the work. The mugs that you saw, those I don't even paint anymore. I have an assistant who paints all those for me. And then they get glazed, they get shipped out. So there's a lot of organizing and management that I was not prepared for. Photographer. I can't always afford photography. I luckily have a scenario where I have someone that I do a work trade with. She uses my studio, and she does amazing photographs, but about 90% of what you see is my photography. I'm getting better at it. For better or for worse. It took a while, and now there's a lot of really cool programs that make that a little bit easier, but every item you see on my website, every Instagram post, everything in the catalog, that is all me. And that is something I definitely had to learn. Marketing. So I handle all of my social media right now. For me as a business owner, I don't really know how to pass that off yet. I like that everything is in my voice. I try to even prepare up to a month in advance to have all my posts set up. Right now it doesn't always work that way. I'm a little behind because I've been sick. I've been working on a big order. So I try to maintain all of that, but Facebook events for our shows, email blasts, branding, printing postcards. So I have new business cards coming. I have postcards with all my shop hours and shows for the fall. I don't do a lot of print catalogs anymore because things are so digital. Press appearances, media appearances, so I do all my own press releases. I work with a company called Pressbook that puts me in contact with all kinds of major magazines. So right now I have samples out to Vogue magazine, In Style, Food and Wine, Apartment Therapy, so I'm waiting to hear back on those. And then TV appearances, I just did New Day Cleveland. I do events like this so I can kind of share what I've learned. So that, again, falls all on me. Website manager. So I had to learn how to design a website and maintain that. So I maintain all the product on that. I oversee all the shipping, so I do have a shipping helper, but I make sure everything's gone out on time. Head of IT. When things break at the studio, for better or for worse, we are an old factory. So sometimes we have, power outages. Last Saturday we didn't have water because the sprinklers went out. So fixing all the things in the office and the studio fall on me. Lead salesperson. So again, that falls under press. Talking to all these media contacts, trying to get them to put me in their magazine. Shows, trying to talk to customers and sell things, doing the wholesale shows. So I have to be, my name is my business, so I have to be there promoting that work. Merchandiser. I was a visual merchandiser for the Z Gallery stores for a few years. That was a huge help to me. Visual merchandising is a job that's kind of dying out, but it's all the display work in the stores. A lot of it is schematics from the store, but they need to be creative, and I learned a lot. And that really helped with photography. That helped with the show setup you saw for New York Now. It's all those little things that I kind of took from other jobs that really I was able to apply to what I do. Janitor. Sometimes the clay trap clogs, things like that. So it's not always glamorous. Sometimes people knock a bucket of glaze over. So we're constantly cleaning, organizing the studio. There is no glamour in what I do. I'm usually covered in mud. This is the cleanest I've been all week. Answering emails. So many emails from people. This time of year, it's definitely, can you make this quicker? So I get a lot of that. And then customer service. I have to make sure the packages will get sent out. I have to track that down, which at Christmas can be a journey. So, there's a lot of tasks that fall on me that have absolutely nothing to do with art. Thank you. All right, so that's me working in the studio. This is a good example of the professional photography. I do much better with candid photos. So I try to always, I like to see how other people photograph my artwork too. So there's always a difference in that. Okay. So next up, this thing happened a few years ago. I don't know if you heard about it. It was called the pandemic. And it really changed a lot of businesses. A lot of businesses closed. A lot of businesses did not know what to do during this time. So through all of this from 2013 to 2020, I was still running a classroom space. I had 50 to 70 students coming through every week. That was a huge portion of my business. It was probably a good half of my income. And I didn't have any employees leading up to the pandemic. I had interns, paid interns, work trade interns, and I had the contract instructors teaching at the classroom space. So when the pandemic hit, the classroom had to shut down. And I spent an entire month, I had to refund people. So I had to refund people $10,000 in the month of April after COVID hit. So I spent an entire month sending out mystery boxes, and luckily people rallied, and I was able to make $10,000 off mystery boxes. So I spent an entire month working to break even, which is, kind of crazy to think now. It was just me at my studio. Everyone had kind of, was going off doing their own thing, trying to figure out their day jobs and how to navigate. So this changed a lot, for better and for worse. So the first thing was teaching. I loved teaching, but I was getting kind of burnt out on it. So I was a full-time artist, I was a teacher, and then I was in charge of programming. So I was, this educational director for this classroom space, and I felt I'm doing all three of these jobs, but I'm not doing all three of them well. So I thought maybe the classroom will reopen, and maybe it'll be different. Maybe I'll have less classes, that sort of thing. And it became clear by the fall that the classroom space was not going to reopen. What also happened was that everyone else was pivoting. So the wholesale shows were, unable to host things. You can't have a huge, gathering of, 10,000 buyers in a small space. So the wholesale shows started to go digital. And that really was a game changer for me. That means a lot of people that maybe didn't always go to the wholesale shows were going online. And I started learning that my California customers are my customers, that even though I'm a Midwest girl doing these East Coast shows, all my customers appear to be in California. And it is through the pandemic and through the online opportunities that were provided for me that I found these major retailers. So I work with Anthropology, which is a huge company, as you probably know. I am not in their stores, I'm actually online with them. They have a really great program where the artist retains 80% of their sales. And you just sell online, we do all the shipping. That really helped my resume. It really helped a lot of stores start seeing my work differently and kind of gave me the credentials I needed to get bigger stores. Sundance Catalog was next. They have a huge following. They plan very early, so right now we're doing an order for them that ships out in December. That'll be in their spring catalog. But they've been a wonderful company to work for, and they're a company that understands how handmade people work. And then Shop Amber Interiors. Amber Lewis is a designer. She designs for Anthropology as well. And she has an amazing store. They're one of my biggest customers. So right now we're sending out a redo or a refill of an order. So they've ordered, over 5 figures worth of product this year. And their orders are so large that we have to freight them out of this studio. Okay. So my business model now. So I opened in 2013. I shut the classroom in 2020. I still get a lot of asks about teaching, but I just don't have the time anymore. I'd like to do it on a very limited basis, but there's the idea of how much can we handle. So that first year of making all those mugs, throwing them, trimming them, putting handles on them, hand carving them, personalizing them, shipping them out, that really took a toll on my mental and physical health. So I had to start to realize too, what is a reasonable amount of artwork that someone can produce in a year and still, again, maintain the integrity of the artwork, but also physically, I'm 44 now. I can't throw in front of the pottery wheel for 8 hours a day like I did in grad school. And so I have to pace myself differently. I do have to consider all of those things. And when I was in graduate school, Ceramics Monthly didn't have they always have a section now on artist studio practice, and they always ask what you do for your physical health, and it's really important. And then also too, your mental health. How much can I handle at Christmas? And there has to be a point where I have to say, no, I cannot do that order for you. As much as I love the money, I just can't get it done. Another thing that I love is collaborating with businesses. So I've been lucky that I've collaborated a lot throughout the years. One of my first big orders was Fresh Fork Market. I don't know if you're familiar, but it's a CSA. And so you pick up your groceries every week. And Trevor, the owner, reached out to me And I did a huge collaboration with him. I started doing butter bells for him, which are these little butter crocks where the butter goes in the lid, that sort of thing. And that was a huge thing for me locally because a bunch of customers who didn't know about my artwork got to know me. And I ended up doing multiple products for him, coffee mugs, plates, that sort of thing. I worked with Rising Star. I worked with nonprofits for, awards and, products for swag bags. So one product I'm working with, last year I was starting to do candles. And again, this is one of those things, what can I hire someone else to do that I don't have the time to do? And one of those things was the candle collaboration. So I've been starting to work with a company called Apothecary Verdant. She's over in Old Brooklyn. She's a good friend of mine. So we started working on this project together, which is awesome because we get to use, she has all essential oil candles, and then you get this nice little container that you can reuse. And then I have finally had time for some passion projects. So if you go on my website, you will see, or if you ever follow me on Instagram, that I am obsessed with dogs, my rescue dogs, that's Faye and Finn. I wanted to do a line of dog dishes for quite some time. So I've gotten these off the ground. I donate 15% of every sale to a rescue every month. And I started working with National Rescues. This is a big deal to me. Being able to collaborate, I donate a lot of these to rescues for when they have their fundraisers and that sort of thing. All right, another passion project. If you follow my Instagram, I like food. I love to cook. So I have been working on a cookbook for 2 years now with no funding. So this will be self-published this year. Trying to compile a lot of photos and just kind of getting something off the ground. My grandmother was a really good cook, and so I'm kind of, one of the legacies I want to leave behind is our family recipes. So I've been able to start working on this and just kind of get this off the ground too. It's going to be completely self-published, and the budget is $0, so I'm going to look forward to that. And then this is my favorite. This is when I was back in when I was at Kent. So this is Kirk, who is no longer with us. We were dancing during studio cleanup at the end of one of our semesters, and then it's Kirk and Eva at my thesis show. So I think it's really important to realize that everything I went through was really non-linear. I think we always measure success as something that happens, right away, overnight. I've been a potter since 1999, and not until 2013 was I able to actually take the leap and be a business owner. And then being a business owner, I didn't know what that meant. We didn't have professional practices classes, that sort of thing. It's much more embraced now in schooling, which I love and I think is amazing because there's a lot of things I didn't know and I didn't learn. And I feel like I had to kind of mess up all these things along the way. And that's one of my biggest takeaways of being a boss now. I have 3 part-time employees, and they are able to see how I manage orders, how I manage customers. I still blow them away with how much I can throw. I did throw 100 pieces in under 3 hours the other day, which is probably why I have a head cold. So back to that whole balance thing. But I think it's really important that they see, what I do and how I do it. And I realize too, in ceramics, there are so many different paths you can take. What I'm doing is not for everyone, but there's a lot to learn from it. There's a lot of things that aren't fun, the accounting, all the behind the scenes stuff, but it really makes it worthwhile. And my time at Kent really helped me with studio discipline. I think I have the work ethic I have now because of graduate school. I definitely feel like having my master's degree did give me a lot of, it was great for my resume, but it really did give me the work ethic I needed to carry into running a business. And so that is my final slide. I talked very quickly, so I have 9 minutes left. I was told there's no Q&A, if you have any questions. Just gonna shun the rules.
Okay. What are you doing now with your artwork? Like, are you doing anything art related now?
So right now, this time of year for me is strictly holiday. So I get through it. It's a lot of work. What? It's holiday production. So The amount of work that goes out from October to December represents 3 times the artwork that goes out the rest of the year. So 75% of my sales happen this time of year. So it is strictly shipping out orders for customers so they have it in time to sell at Christmas, making sure I have enough product to sell online at shows, and then also finding where FedEx has lost all my packages. Yeah.
What's your Instagram?
The Instagram is just Gina DeSantis Ceramics.
You want to say that one more time? Just
Yeah. Gina DeSantis Ceramics. Same on Facebook.
Hi. How do you, as an artist, like balance, like obviously you have specialty products that are accessible to people. How do you balance the price while still making a profit with like the integrity of your products in mind while they're still like accessible to the public?
That is a very good question. Prices have gone up everywhere. I do have, I revisit every year how much clay is costing me. I have a spreadsheet, so I kind of have a per pound price that I work from, and I price it from there and how much space it'll take up in kilns. Does my staff have to help me? And then a lot of times when you see my products on my website, you might see my mugs for $48 on my website. You might see them for $58 on Shop Amber's because they're paying for shipping. So they're gonna have to hike up the price, plus they're in California, so the cost of goods is just a little bit higher. So it does fluctuate a lot, so I try to keep a market value, but I also try to make sure that I'm making enough money to pay myself and my staff.
good. Any other questions? Another question here.
Cool.
Are we able to like buy our products you made?
Yes, and you can buy on my website. It says under my name, Gina DeSantis Ceramics. And then I'm in the Screw Factory, so we have 3 big shows. We have a show at the end of October, and we have Small Business Saturday, and then we have December 13th to the 15th. There's an enormous show, the Christmas market that we do, and we have outside vendors as well. So that's a huge source of income for me, is just being in the studio and being able to sell out of the studio. Come visit me. It's a good spot too. We're building a lot of new art studios if any of you need a space.
Any other questions? And for people who aren't comfortable asking questions in a crowd, would you be available either backstage or up here after the presentation?
Absolutely. I'm happy to share any info. And my email's on my website too. I know it's shocking. It's Gina DeSantis Ceramics @gmail. But it's all on my website. If you have any questions that you want to ask me that you didn't think of today, please shoot me an email. I'm happy to answer them.